What is going on, guys? It's the MaD Dragon. Round 2 of the Six Nations is just around the corner. We've got all of our team announcements out, which means it's time to go through our fantasy team and pick our squad for round 2. I'm going to start out, of course, by purging the entire team from what we had in round 1. Few players doing okay for me in round 1, a few players not doing so well for me. For anyone who saw the first video where I was trying to break down my logic on how I go about building a team to try and help people new to the Rugby Fantasy, one call did come back to bite me where I was unable to keep Hugh Jones in my team due to some constraints of player numbers and budgetary reasons. I ended up getting rid of Hugh Jones and hated that decision completely as I was doing it, only for Hugh Jones to go on and be the best player of the round. So even I don't have all of the answers, but I thought today it'd be fun to go through and build my team for round 2. And whereas the last video was a bit more just about how to go about building a team, I thought this week might be slightly different on maybe going over a bit more logic about why I'm picking players the way I am. If anyone wants to know a bit more about the teams or the players, maybe you're new to rugby, maybe you're just new to get into the fantasy and don't know too much about a lot of other teams other than the one you support, we do also have the preview videos up on the channel. You can go check them out, going over the full team announcement list and going through players. So I've purged my team from what I originally had in round 1. We've gone up to 225.6 stars. We've done slightly better than in round 1, which gives us slightly more budget to play with. Now, like last week, I'm already looking at how do I go about starting my team. I'm going to go over the teams I think are going to win, and that's what's predominantly going to be building up my team as we go on. So the games going on this week: Italy versus Wales, England versus France, Scotland versus Ireland. I'm going with a win for Italy versus Wales, France over England, and Ireland over Scotland. So those are my 3 predictions for the winners this week. So that's a lot of what my team is going to be based around. Now, just a couple of areas to keep in mind is players that performed well last round that I want to keep in, who I think may do well again. A couple of them coming from France, of course. He's already up the top here, is this man, Antoine Dupont. Had a superb game against Wales. Not everything going completely perfectly, but had another good game. And I think he's one of the live wires to keep an eye out for going up against England as well. So I'm certainly going to be looking to keep Dupont in there as well. Going up against Wales, France didn't go for too many kicks towards the posts. They knew they were going to go on to win that game, so penalties were looked at, going towards the corner, going for the driving maul and something. Maybe something I should have taken into consideration last week, but I still maintain you want to have a French kicker going in there. So Ramos at 15 is their main kick taker as well. They've lost Roman Entamak now with Jalibert coming in at number 10. I'm absolutely going to want to keep Ramos in as one of my kickers to get those extra points for penalties against England. Probably a bit more important than when they were going up against Wales. Other French players, you could certainly look at the French wings. They've got Damien Penaud back now. Louis Bielbiarri was running around all over the place last week. Centre partnership, maybe I'm going to avoid that one. Jalibert at 10 doesn't feel like it's going to offer me quite as much. Going into the forward, so certainly French forwards, you could look at one man that stuck out to me last week who I had in the Superbru Fantasy, but not in this one. I thought I did pick him. It was Greg Aldrit. I think he's a superb French player and had a superb game last week. I'm expecting to do something similar this week, so I'm going to put Gregory Aldrit in there as my number 8. I'm going to leave my French team there because you're only allowed 4 from each team. Maybe I'll have a bit of a think about this as I'm going through and picking other players. Now, last week, Super Sub came up to be all important. I didn't even get rid of Tom Jordan. I've gained a few more stars there. Super Sub was really important. I saw a couple of people did the thing where they basically miss out a player in order to allow you to have more points for a Super Sub. I'm not a big fan of that rule. I really dislike that the official fantasy added that in. I really feel like this should be a bonus as opposed to like a niche sort of positive you can give it by not even picking the full team. I'm not going to go down that route. I'm going to always maintain having your full stack team. I think that's playing the game properly, right? So let's go over to the Super Sub for this round, and I'm already looking at one man and one man alone. It's that boy there, Dan Sheehan, coming on from the bench last week and made a huge impact. Scotland are a team that I think could potentially fall off. They've gone for the 6-2 on the bench, which means they'll probably have a bit more stock in their forwards, and they're probably keeping an eye out for Dan Sheehan. Another good option for your Super Sub in here could certainly be Julien Marchand. Same reasons as what happened last week, getting on from the bench and scoring a try. Dan Sheehan's just one of these people, though, who just loves to get on and make an impact. The fact he's on the bench again for me cements him as a Super Sub for me there. Looking elsewhere around the park, where do we want to go for some of these Irish players going up against Scotland? Scotland did okay, certainly in terms of the scrimmage impact. I don't think it's worth having another Irish hooker there, so I'm probably going to avoid going for the hooker. You could look at Sam Prendergast going in there in the number 10 sheet. You could look out to the wings. James Lowe was busy last week, and it does make me consider, will Ireland repeat that action and go out towards James Lowe's wing, or will in fact Scotland go for that wing so much in fear of James Lowe that Mac Hansen might end up having a much better week on the right-hand wing? It's a lot of mind games going on in the fantasy this week. For the sake of 4 stars, which is the difference between James Lowe and Mac Hansen, I think I'm going to load up once again and go for heavy winger. I'm going to go for James Lowe out on this wing. Moving down towards some of the forwards as well for Ireland is going to be another big one. I think Ireland going up against Scotland, they'll look to carry hard. A man that did well for me last week is Ty Byrne. Let's sling Ty Byrne back in there. How are we doing stars-wise? 123. I've hacked out half my team already for basically a third of my team. I'm going to have to sort of dance around some of these other positions a bit. So let's move on to Italy, who might be some slightly cheaper players along the way. I'm going to really believe that Italy have got something up their sleeve versus Wales. And as much as I think it's a really good call to be looking at some French backs, because I think France are certainly a team that can cause some good upsets. I think Italy will want to really step up for this game. I'm going to go for Capuozzo on the right hand wing for me. I'm gonna go and roll the dice with it with an Italian winger and expect him to step up. The Italian wingers really weren't utilised that much last week and didn't score particularly well across the board, so I'm hoping that's going to be a bit of a step up for them. Likewise, centre positions. Centres for Italy, Brex got me a good try last week. That Welsh centre department at the minute's looking awfully toothless in that last game, and I think because of that, I'm even tempted to go for the double Italian centre partnership and go for a bit of a wild cause, because we've got a few stars to achieve that, and just believe that that Italy are going to be a team that just back their backs quite a lot more for this game, and these boys are allowed to have a bit more of an expansive game against a Wales team who defensively let a lot get through them last week. Someone who I think is going to be a bit of a sneaky call for this week is going to be Marcus Smith going in there in the 10 shirt. Now, he's got Finn Smith playing alongside him. Not entirely sure who's going to be doing the kicking between the two of them, but if he goes for the conversion points, you might get more. But more importantly, because Marcus Smith playing at fullback this week, might just give him a few more sort of carry meters on the ball, going for those counter-attacks. He's not necessarily the sort of fullback that just boots the ball away when he gets it to hand. He likes pushing himself up on a counter run. He likes moving up into the attacking line from fullback. So I think for putting a fly half in there to basically gain another back 3 player, by proxy, I think is the move I really want to do. Now, stars are beginning to chop down awfully quickly as we go, so we might need to look for some slightly cheaper players. England are going to have quite expensive forwards. Let's go over to Wales and have a look what's going on in the old Wales department here to try and maybe pick up a couple of players that are slightly cheaper. Players like Will Rowlands in the lock department scored well last week, even though necessarily in the round, I don't think he necessarily had the best game in the world. But for 10 stars, it's a nice little way to slot in a position there. Someone coming into the round for Wales, though, who I certainly think could step up this round and try and make an impact, and is only 12.7 stars, considering the rest of the Wales back rows. Talupe Faletau coming back into the squad is someone who certainly likes to score high in these fantasies, so someone to keep an eye out for. Puts me on 24 stars to fill out 3 positions. Luckily, Wales have got some cheap hookers going in here, so I think Lloyd's going to come in for me in my hooker position just to try and give me a bit more budget to work with. Gives me 15.7 elsewhere. Props may have to go slightly cheaper as well. Might have to do a bit of shaking about. Well, it's taken an enormous amount of juggling around, but I finally managed to make it work once again within 1 star. The budget system in this game is so tight if you want to build out the full team. So I've been able to keep my Italian centre partnership in Capuozzo. Having James Lowe just isn't a luxury I can afford. So I've gone back to Bielbiari, who scored decent points for me last week. Damien Penaud's also, too expensive for me to fit in the budget constraints. But James Lowe scored well. on left wing versus England last week. So BLBRE, left wing for France going up against England. I mean, there's got to be some logic in there, right, in order for him to also do well. I've been able to keep Antoine Dupont and Greg Aldrit in there. Marcus Smith is my 10 for the running fullback position, but we should score those good points for 10 for me. Been able to keep Tulube Falatau. I've added in Sebastian Negri into the back row. He's the only Italian back row I can afford within the budget constraints to fit in again. And to be honest, across these back players, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm actually kind of glad that I've managed to get what I've got from there. The front five is where I'm slightly more questionable. Glad I've got Tygburn in there. Costs a lot to get in, but just to fit within budget, it's a stacked Wales side. Not something I was expecting to be doing going into making this video. Certainly, I was maybe having one Wales player, which might have been Falatau. I've ended up with 4, just because I can't make the budget work, and then Rory Sutherland coming in. There's also a good cheap prop for Scotland. I think he's my only Scottish player in the Italian team, and I've been able to keep the main super sub for me, who I can see being a big impact in this one, is going to be Dan Sheehan coming on in that second half. It's very interesting to see, actually, if you don't do or you sack off a prop so that you can get more stars, actually how much more useful that is. It feels like they've almost tried to build it as if people are going to do that more the way the budget works. Given the stars I have, you're averaging about 14 stars per player across the whole team, yet most of your solid Irish or French players cost about 18. So it sort of pushes you over budget anyway to make a team. It's almost like they push you to not having the full team. But I'm determined to not fall into that game. I want the full squad. And this week we've got a solid super sub. Captain-wise, tough. There's a lot of different routes you can go here. Ramos for his kicking, I think, could be a good pick. French wings, Irish wings, I think could also be some good calls. I'm expecting Italy to step up versus Wales. So I'm going to be looking at an Italian captain this week, which a couple of people might not see coming. I can also see back rows being a good call. I'm thinking one of these 3 players for me. Brex has always got a solid game on his shoulders, but will he go above and beyond? Cabwotso, for me, someone that I'm keeping an eye on for this game, is on the wing. Tommaso Allan on the right wing. Wingers not used that much by Italy last week, but the fact that Cabwotso can not only do wing but move to fullback if there's an injury means I think he's staying on for the full 80 without injury, of course, is always a concern. But I'm expecting wingers to be able to step up a bit more this week. Last week, Josh Adams did not have a good game on left wing for Wales, so he'll be going up against right wing Cabwotso this weekend. And I think Cabwotso could be having a bit of a field day if Italy watch that Wales-France game and see the room in that backfield for cross-field kicks. So for me, I am going to go for Cabwotso as my captain and hope my backs can bring it in for me, because I'm not super confident in the forward pack. But there's my logic on how I've come about my team, guys. Of course, drop down in the comment section your teams for the round, any changes you would have made. I'm going to try my best to keep on top of the comment section this week. Put the video out last week and literally just didn't have time to go through all the comments and respond to everyone. But drop down your team, any changes you've made to your own squad, who's your captain, all that good stuff. And of course, we'll be going over the results from this weekend on Monday's video. Best of luck to everyone. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.